My brother Jason and I moved to Colorado a while back. We had this dream of living near the mountains, where adventure seemed to beckon from every peak. But like many dreams, reality often had its own plans. So instead of surrendering to the disappointment, we found a solution, sharing a cozy townhome in the suburbs outside Denver. It wasn't exactly living in the heart of the mountains, but it was close enough, just a short drive away from those majestic slopes we so longed to explore. Now, let me tell you about those trails. They were like veins, pumping life into the wilderness, drawing in hikers, campers, and nature enthusiasts from all over. But with that popularity came a price. Solitude was a rare commodity. It seemed like every path we took was bustling with activity, the serenity of nature drowned out by the chatter of fellow adventurers. Feeling a bit disheartened by the constant buzz of activity, Jason and I concocted a plan, a 3-day backpacking adventure to escape the chaos, to find that elusive peace and quiet we craved. Jason took charge of mapping out our route, and before we knew it, we were parked at the trailhead, our excitement palpable in the crisp mountain air. The first leg of our journey was a modest 8-mile hike, the terrain deceivingly flat until it gradually morphed into a rugged ascent in the final stretch. But Jason assured me that the payoff would be worth every step, a promise that would soon be fulfilled. Picture this: as we trudged onward, the sun began its descent, casting a warm golden hue over the landscape. And then, just when our legs threatened to give out, we stumbled upon a small plateau nestled against the mountainside, offering a breathtaking vista of the valley below. It was as if nature herself had laid out a welcome mat, inviting us to pause and soak in the splendor. With our campsite secured, we set about kindling a fire, the crackling flames casting dancing shadows against the rocky terrain. Lost in conversation, time seemed to melt away, until a sudden interruption shattered the tranquility. Footsteps, faint at first, growing louder with each passing moment. And then, emerging from the darkness, a figure materialized, a man, his features obscured by the flickering glow of our fire. But what struck us as odd was the absence of a headlamp, a vital tool for navigating the wilderness after dark. "Hey, did you need something?" Jason's voice broke the silence, his tone tinged with a hint of suspicion. The man's response came with a disarming grin, as he introduced himself as a park ranger and informed us of a supposed trail closure. Yet doubts gnawed at us. We had done our homework, obtained the necessary permits, and knew for a fact that the park was open. Still, the man persisted, his insistence bordering on the unsettling. "You both need to leave with me right now," he urged, his words laced with an urgency that sent a shiver down my spine. But Jason stood his ground, refusing to budge. And then, with a final enigmatic smile, the man retreated into the night, leaving us to ponder the strange encounter. Fear lingered like a shadow as we huddled by the dwindling fire, our senses heightened, attuned to every rustle of leaves and distant sound. Sleep proved elusive, our minds consumed by questions and uncertainty. As dawn broke, we wasted no time in packing our belongings, eager to put distance between us and the unsettling events of the night. Returning to the trailhead, we were met with a familiar sight: the weathered SUV, its presence a silent reminder of the mysteries that lurked within these rugged hills. Though we reported the encounter to the authorities, the truth remained elusive. Who was the mysterious man, and what dark intentions lay behind his deceptive guise? We may never know for certain, but one thing's for sure: we escaped a brush with danger, leaving us to wonder what other secrets these mountains held hidden within their towering peaks. Back in college, camping was our thing. The camaraderie, the laughter, the shared stories around the crackling fire, those were the moments that made memories. But after we graduated, life pulled us in different directions. Our schedules clashed like incompatible puzzle pieces, making it nearly impossible to organize another camping trip together. So I made the decision to venture out on my own. There's this spot we used to frequent, tucked away from the beaten path. It wasn't the easiest to reach, but that's precisely why it held a special place in my heart. It was a hidden gem, a sanctuary of solitude amidst the chaos of everyday life. So, with memories of past adventures fueling my spirit, I packed my gear and set out. The journey to the campsite was a familiar one, each twist and turn of the trail evoking a sense of nostalgia. As I arrived, a wave of tranquility washed over me. The air was crisp, the scent of pine needles mingling with the earthy aroma of the forest floor. It was just me and the wilderness, the perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. But my solitude was short-lived. Soon after setting up camp, a lone figure emerged from the shadows of the trees. He seemed like any other hiker, his demeanor relaxed, his steps purposeful. However, his lack of camping gear raised an eyebrow. Why would someone venture out into the wilderness without the necessary supplies? It was a question that lingered in the back of my mind, but one that I brushed aside in favor of enjoying the serenity of the moment. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the landscape, I settled into the rhythm of camp life. I cooked my meal, savored the taste of adventure in every bite, and allowed myself to be enveloped by the quiet solitude of the night. But as darkness descended, so too did a sense of unease. The sound of footsteps shattered the silence, echoing through the stillness of the night. I peered out from my tent, heart pounding in my chest, and saw the figure of the hiker standing at the edge of the campsite. His presence sent a chill down my spine, his gaze fixed on me with an intensity that sent alarm bells ringing in my mind. I waited, breath held in anticipation, as the minutes stretched into eternity. Why was he just standing there? What did he want? The question swirled in my mind, each more unsettling than the last. And then, as suddenly as he had appeared, he turned and vanished into the darkness, leaving me alone once more. The night passed in a haze of fear and uncertainty. I dared not close my eyes, for fear of what lurked in the shadows, and when morning finally broke, I wasted no time in packing up my belongings and fleeing the solitude of the wilderness. Since that night, I haven't been camping. The memory of the encounter still haunts me, a reminder of the fragility of solitude in the wilderness. What was the hiker's intent? I may never know. But one thing is certain: I escaped a brush with danger, and for that, I am eternally grateful. I went camping in the backcountry near my home. I'm not much of a hiker, so I never go far from the trails. This time, I was just over a mile away from my car. I planned to stay by the lake for the weekend and enjoy some fishing. On the third day, I hiked back to my truck to grab my fishing rod and some extra food. When I returned to my camp, I noticed another tent had popped up near the edge of the lake. I hadn't seen anyone else on the trail, but maybe there was another way to the lake that I didn't know about. Shrugging it off, I set up my rod and started fishing. Every now and then I glanced at the tent, but I never saw anyone. After 3 hours, as the sun started to set, I packed up and went back to my camp. I gathered some sticks for a campfire and waited for it to get darker before lighting it up. Just as the fire started, I saw a shadow in the forest ahead. It was too dark to see clearly, so I assumed it was the person from the other tent collecting firewood. I tried not to overthink it and relaxed by the fire, enjoying the peaceful evening. But about half an hour later, I noticed several figures coming out of the forest. As they got closer, I realized there were 4 men, all looking serious and not saying a word. They walked right up to my campsite, and I stood up, nervously asking what they needed. 2 of them went behind me to my tent, while the other 2 pushed me aside. It was clear they were robbing me, and I knew fighting back would only make things worse. The men rifled through my stuff, while the others kept pushing me away from the camp. They dragged me further into the forest, and soon it was so dark I couldn't see anything. I was terrified. Suddenly, one of them reached for something, and I bolted. I ran as fast as I could, heading for the trail in my truck. Thankfully, no one followed me. I reported the incident to the police, but they couldn't find any trace of the men. Most of my gear was stolen, but I was incredibly lucky to escape with my life.